Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's performance of Show Some Skin, Tell Me More. My name's Leah Jacob, and I'm this year's assistant director. We're really, really excited that all of you guys have decided to be here with us tonight, and we thank you for coming with us on this journey. Show Some Skin gives voice to unspoken stories about identity and diversity. We respectfully present anonymous submissions about individuals' experiences by combining the arts of personal storytelling and performance. Our production strives to be a catalyst for the campus community's discovery and appreciation of Notre Dame's true diversity. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you to please be respectful, and so silence your cell phones, and if possible, please try to refrain from leaving the auditorium during the performance of a monologue. You guys will find in your programs that you each received surveys. So if you could please fill those out and return them to us after the show, that would be wonderful. Intermission will be 15 minutes long. And I just want to remind you guys that tomorrow night from 6 to 8 p.m., we will actually be having a post-show discussion for those of you that really want to talk about issues that were brought up in just our show in general. So that will be from 6 to 8 p.m. in the Coleman Morris Lounge. I hope you guys are ready. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Hi, everyone. Late last evening, Notre Dame lost one of its finest, and I might venture so far as to say Father Hesburgh was Notre Dame's finest. Let us now take a moment for silent reflection and prayer on behalf of this great man. Father Theodore Hesburgh epitomized what this institution stands for: spiritual, academic, and personal achievement with the purpose of sharing our God-given gifts to better the world. He once wrote, "The Catholic University should be a place where all the great questions are asked, where an exciting conversation is continually in progress, where the mind constantly grows as the values of power, intelligence, wisdom are cherished and exercised in full freedom." Father Ted embodied what it meant and means today to fight for justice, equality, respect, and above all, love. Show Some Skin would like to dedicate tonight's performance to Father Hesburgh as we gather here in the building named in honor of this man's exceptional life. Let us keep him in our thoughts and prayers as we aspire to continue a mission of social justice dear to his heart. In doing so, his legacy will live on in each of us. So, in the name of God, country, and Notre Dame, may the Lord bless Father Hesburgh in glory everlasting.
Thank you, Rachel, for those wonderful words. Just a correction, the post-show discussion is actually on Sunday. Sorry.
You've asked me to tell you more. You've asked me to tell you more. You've asked me to tell you more. What is so special about me that piques your interest to know more? How does this benefit you? Asking me to dig into the depths of myself, the trenches of my being, I've sealed out to live out each day. And if I tell you, will you run away? After I've cut myself open and laid out the rawest elements of my identity. As humans, we long for relationship, friendship, romance, comfort, and safety. Love. We yearn to love and be loved, to be fully accepted, all the way to the core. Fully naked without the costumes to dress up in security, relying solely on the security of the one who chooses to be present with us in our vulnerabilities. Solidarity. Maybe that's why we praise people like Mother Teresa, Dorothy Day, and Jean Vanier, because they demonstrate what we're too afraid to do, thrust ourselves into loving one another in spite of our deformities, privileges, or disabilities. Why can't you open your heart to the brokenness and complexities beneath my skin? I granted you access to my pain, my fears, my hopes, my thoughts, my quirks, my passions, my dreams. You exploited my body under the guise of love, retreated behind your religious convictions, and severed a friendship you claim can only exist at the surface because you're uncomfortable delving deeper? What is the point of a relationship if not for depth? To draw us out of ourselves, spilling our self-identified weaknesses onto the pages of a book, outlining our purpose for existence through our stories, lining the shelves of humanity for others to read, to be inspired, to discover new colors, to complete the artwork of their own life with. How can you read with no one to teach you? How can you speak without hearing words for your own tongue to form? Learning the languages of the heart and mind of culture and identity requires patience, interest, investment, listening, courage, and the spirit to give yourself freely if you truly wish to understand. Immersion. Can you immerse yourself into the complexities of human identity? Are you willing to let go of your own fears and discomforts when I envelop you with the experience of my own identity? If I tell you more, what will you tell me? Will we share in the joys and suffering of human nature together? Or will this remain a one-sided venture? What is a relationship, after all, without reciprocity?
The leaves of the maple tree, the liveliness and hope. In August, I became a Notre Dame student. I am from China.
The bright green leaves of the maple tree, brimming with liveliness and hope. I remember it was a hot August day that I became a Notre Dame student, and it was a beautiful day. The wind didn't appear too often, but I remember the sunshine together with the bright leaves showed the liveliness and the hopefulness to meet new friends from all over the world. I remember who I sat next to during the orientation. There's this one girl, and she just stuck out to me. And
leaves of maple tree, liveliness and hope. In August, I became a Notre Dame student. I'm from China. On the first day, the maple trees were still green, and the wind didn't appear really often. The sunshine, together with the green, showed the liveliness and hope to meet new friends from all over the world. I remember a girl who sat beside me during the orientation. 2 weeks later, I saw her in the dining hall. We greeted to each other. She also remembered me. So we sat together and had dinner. We can become good friends, I thought, since we got our cell phone number, so we could still keep contact. On Saturday, the girl sent me a message. Hey, do you want to eat together sometime? I miss you. I was really moving and happy. She missed me. She considers me as an important friend. Text me. We should eat together sometime. She always said that when we met in the campus. So I always keep in mind. Once I scheduled a time for dinner. Let's meet at 6:30, I text her. But everything has changed then. I arrived at the dining hall at 6:20. Hey, I'm in the dining hall, I text her, and I enter the dining hall. Sorry, I have finished eating 1 hour ago, haha. An hour ago? Why didn't she tell me? Am I made fun of? Suddenly, the falling leaves of the maple tree were like the turning point of the change of the season, of the change of my feelings, of the change of how I view the liveliness I was pursuing before. Another day, I met her in our dorm. They were playing a new song called Shake It Up. I told her I love the song. She asked me, do you have it in your phone? Yeah, of course, I said. Yeah, of course, ha 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 ha. Her friends repeated my words and laughed at me after I left. Their laughing were loud enough to penetrate the roof. Suddenly, the simple dream to be respected was so far out of reach. The liveliness was diluted by the passing of time. Maybe they have noticed when we first met. Asian people are simple, are naive. They are nerds and have poor people skill. So we are deserved to be made fun of and laughed at. But we are Asian. We come here to pursue our dreams and share our unique culture. The green leaves of the maple tree symbolize our ambition to pursue what we are looking for.
Girls everywhere, titty ass hands in the air. It's the party of the year. Shaking for the man of the year, man of the year. Schoolboy Q repeated as I walk into the locker room. So it is what they say it is. I chuckled to myself. I grew up listening to reports of Cam Newton stealing laptops in Florida, Jameis Winston being tried for rape, and Tim Tebow being criticized for opening all his interviews with, first and foremost, I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. College football players have built an image of tough, rugged guys with no standards or morals in life. In the locker room that first day, I saw potential signs of a culture that thrived on that image. I grew up in a Christian home and didn't go to public school until the 6th grade. And even then, my lifestyle remained the same. My parents continued to shield me from things that happen in the world. In this time, I developed a strong sense of self-identity. I was made in the Lord. I ate, slept, and breathed with the intention of glorifying the King in all that I did. As life took its course, I soon realized that my own little world was a calm channel connected to an ocean of rough waters. And with that being said, it's not like my beliefs are better than anyone else's. It was just the way I wanted to live my life. The locker room that first day was filled with new faces, new cultures, new expectations, and new beliefs. There seemed to be a constant chat amongst my teammates about who got laid the most, who drank the most, who saw that chick's last Instagram post. All this chatter was an attempt by each guy to make a strong first impression with the rest of the guys on the team. I was a light in a dark room, not because I was better than any of my brothers, but because I acted differently. I was discouraged, alone, afraid. this new culture was everything I expected it to be. Placed in front of me that summer was a decision to either believe in my faith or believe in the criticism of others. I stuck out like a sore thumb in a culture that opposed my values and beliefs. I had numerous encounters over the summer where people would question the status of my girlfriend and I. And I love my girl. Distance was not going to break us apart. But my teammates couldn't quite understand how serious I was about her. Rather, there was an expectation that I would hook up with every girl on campus. Because that's what football players do, right? I thought back to something my mentor once told me. Manage expectations, he said. In every walk of life, I found this to be true, but at Notre Dame, it seemed like my expectations were more magnified. There was a general thought that college in general was a big old party, especially if you played football. And so when I wasn't hoisting a red solo cup, objectifying women or cussing out the guys, I was expected to have an explanation. It was as if I had failed miserably to meet up to their expectations of me. In that moment, I felt confused. I did not want to be labeled by what I believed, but I just wanted to be me. Never once was it about me being better than my brothers and my teammates, but it was about us respecting each other's values and beliefs. I felt far from respected. I felt looked down upon. The Bible says, the Lord will not tempt you beyond more than you can bear. And this world is filled with temptations, but Notre Dame is not different. Whatever the circumstance, I do know this. We're all given a chance and a choice to either believe in what we believe or give in to what others believe. At the end of the day, we also want to be accepted for who we are. Amongst my ocean of rough waters, all I wanted from my teammates was respect. I just wanted to be seen as one of the guys in a culture where I didn't necessarily act like one.
I walk around campus sometimes with my pants sagged, a gold grill, and tattoos covering my body. Whenever I walk by most students, they put their heads down, avoiding eye contact, or even a simple smile or hello. Honestly, it inspires me to be looked at a negative way around campus. It's all the evidence I need to motivate myself, to prove people wrong, and show them we're all the same. Philosophy is one of the most influential subjects that I've taken since I've been enrolled at Notre Dame. It teaches me different ways to see life from different perspectives through history. I'm always eager to go to philosophy in class and be engaged in discussion, because it could be a future major for me. One day during philosophy class in O'Shaughnessy Hall, I finally got the wish that I was waiting for, and that was to meet a regular student who accepted me for me. It wasn't a walk in the park, it was more like a marathon, because it took me about 2 weeks to gain the trust of the student who sat next to me. His name was Josh. I know he was uncomfortable and nervous to sit next to me because every time I caught him looking at my tattoos, he'd look away suspiciously. When Professor Murphy first assigned seats to the class, there was no one to the right of me but a whitish-yellowish wall. And on the other side, there was Josh, a short, nervous white boy with glasses and long hair. But Josh was a hard worker. I could tell by the way that he always came to class, prepared to participate and took notes. I know for a fact he expected me to be the type of student who would just lie back in my seat, waiting for class to be over and not engaging in discussion, but I proved him wrong. Because every time his hand went up, my hand went up as well. It became a competition between us two in class, which brought us closer together as friends. Once Josh got used to hearing my voice, and with me having different conversations with Professor Murphy during class, he loosened up and started talking to me excessively. I used to always have to say something to him first, but once he realized that I actually wanted to learn and be successful, he became one of my best friends in the class. Not only was he talking to me every class now, but he got obnoxious because he almost wanted to hit me up for no reason. Josh is the perfect example of a regular kid who was intimidated at first by my appearance. But once he realized that I was a huge kid just like him, he knew. Just a big teddy bear. Everyone doesn't talk, act, think, or look the same. But that doesn't mean that they can't achieve the same things, or that they don't deserve the same respect. I stand out at Notre Dame, and that's a blessing, because someone who came from where I came from wouldn't last 3 weeks on this campus. I'm just proud of myself that I had the courage to try and be different.
Hispanic of the female sex, pansexual, demi-romantic, and gender fluid. That's me, or at least the labels I use for convenience. I'm here to tell you more about being gender fluid. I'm sure by now you're wondering, what the hell does that even mean? It means that there are days when I am a female and I put on makeup and proudly show off my curves. It means that there are days when I am a male who forgets I don't have the right parts in the body that I have. It means there are days when I want to wear both a binder and a skirt because I am both a boy and girl. It means there are days when I am neither and I dress in sweats and hoodies because I don't have a specific gender I want to express. It means that there are days when my gender is a non-committal meh and a shrug. It means there are days that I fit in the binary and days that I don't. Are you confused yet? Don't worry, I am too. To be honest, the only reason I figured out I wasn't cisgendered was because of the body dysphoria I experienced. Body dysphoria is this feeling of wrongness with your body. You feel like you're trapped in the wrong one and you wish you could just peel off your skin because it's all wrong. I shouldn't have boobs, but where is my dick? Why can't I have both? It's just wrong, wrong, wrong. I didn't know who to talk to about it. How do you even bring something like that up? So I hid it. And it sucked because I wasn't me. It only took one person to break my forced silence. He was the first friend I made yet, and he happened to be queer. When he told me, he was a little afraid of my reaction, but he was not ashamed. Because there is no shame in accepting yourself as you are. It was rough at first. I spent a full year in therapy because opening that Pandora's box made my depression and anxiety worse. I was a mess. But how could I not be, considering how many years I'd been throwing things into the box? I got better, but I was afraid of rejection still. It took getting dumped in the worst way possible to get me to snap out of it. I told my fiance about my discovered gender identity, and he told me he'd be fine with me being me. But then he dumped me a month later with a flimsy excuse. It was the rage that pushed me to where I am today. How dare he treat me like that? Like I was less because I was different? I am just as valuable as anyone else. He had no right to trample all over my feelings like they were nothing. And Eureka, I grew a backbone. It's not perfect. The body dysphoria still gets me some days, but it's not as bad as before. I learned to love myself. I appreciate my female self more now that the other me's get a turn to be seen. I am gender fluid, and if you can't accept that, then sorry, I'm not sorry. I refuse to change for your comfort. I am done denying who I am. I will be me, unapologetically, whether it's female me, male me, or other me. I am proud of who I am. All 5'1" of the beautiful mess God created me as.
When you come down the stairs, my heart, well, it always stops. The goofy, naive grin on my face gives me away, and until I met you, never had I desired to be so transparent, so visible. The way your eyes beat mine and you get that same childishly euphoric grin. Most days, I'm certain it's the closest I'll ever get to heaven. The tiniest touch between us, from innocence or accident, sends shockwaves coursing through my body, only to nestle and make a home in my soul. My favorite times with you involve me and you walking and talking. At times, it's amazing, pleasant conversation. It can be profound. Occasionally, it's agonizing. Other times, we speak only with our silence. Never have I known a love like this. I can never hear enough about you, your life, what it's like growing up in a Hispanic Puerto Rican home, what your favorite foods are, how you went through an emo music phase too. And fashion, oh, the discussions of aesthetics, leathers, pleats and tucks, details, collections, designers. You have seen my heart and provided a delicate and beautiful world from which I would rather never leave. And then my wife calls. The walls to my heart fly up and my guard is heightened. My fantasy of fashion, conversation, and love crumbles into a disarray of fabric scraps and broken feelings. She only hit me once. But once was enough for all of our arguments to terrify me into submission. I've seen the monster that was hidden. See, I always assumed that when you were born, you were put in a metaphorical box until you could lovingly and accurately label yourself. Coven waiting with arms outstretched to welcome you with love. The world opening up to different labels as the tide swept out from within our hearts to accept love. But what the world forgot to teach me
women can hit women too.
When I started to diagnose myself with the terrible disease of being gay, I sought out a few simple remedies. The first thing I did was prescribe myself the University of Notre Dame. I sent in my deposit to enroll. Next, I read every scientific journal about this gay disease. I look at all types of hormone levels and closely followed a series of experiments on changing sexual orientations of fruit flies. Because, you know, gay flies should go to heaven too. I had it all planned out. I would go to Notre Dame. I would become straight. And if that failed, I would just drink a lot and die shortly after graduating. Easy. Upon arrival, my options quickly divided into two paths. Either be happy here and not be myself, or be myself and not be happy here. And I sure as hell didn't want to be myself. So I set down the road to convince myself my heterosexuality. But forgetting that you don't actually like guys is only convenient for a little while. I cried because every time I hook up with a guy, it hurt like I was being assaulted. And then I cried 10 times harder because the only one forcing me to do this was myself. I cried because people would ask me why I was crying, and I could not say a thing. I would just sit there and sob and think about how lucky that I, out of all people, get to go to Notre Dame. And other people wish for it all their lives and do not. I would do this every Friday. And again, every Saturday. I learned quickly to not let people see me cry. And eventually, I learned how to stop crying and to start pouring more vodkas into my drinks and more shots down my throat. I don't look different than any of you Notre Dame girls. Most people look at me and assume I fit in just perfectly. If I told you that I was gay, you would probably laugh at my joke and then awkwardly laugh again when you realize I am serious. And if you ask me about my freshman year, I will tell you that it was great. Because it was. I have made the best friends I've ever had. Here. But you asked me to tell you more. And this is who I am and what freshman me felt like I had to do. Before I could say, home is where the dome is, alongside all of you.
There's something about Notre Dame that forces you to take on the illusion of perfection. You pretend you've got your life together, but as soon as you're alone, all you can see are your own imperfections and failures. There was no reason for it to get to me. I had top grades in a difficult major and as good a family life as anyone. But somehow, I got caught up. I became so painfully aware of my own flaws that I was blind to everything else. I stopped sleeping. I lost my appetite. My flaws swallowed up my entire life. And I felt an overwhelming need to make them visible, as though making them tangible could somehow make them manageable. So one day, I did make them visible. I used a pocket knife. There's a sense of power associated with it. You get the feeling that nothing on the outside can ever hurt you again. You're in control, and for a brief moment, you're invincible. But that power is quickly overwhelmed by an even more powerful fear. And it's easy to fall into a cycle of fear and pain with no good way out. I eventually did pull myself out of the hole I'd fallen into. I slept on a friend's couch when the nightmares kept me from sleeping in my own room. I used a marker to draw flowers growing up and down my arm. I distracted myself as much as possible. And slowly, the fog of pain that had surrounded me for so long started to clear. One night, a boy walked me home from a party. He was so kind. He made sure I wasn't too drunk, and we sat on the couch and talked. I got an intuition that he was safe, that I could tell this shy, awkward boy anything. So in a moment of courage or stupidity or just plain boldness facilitated by alcohol, I showed him my scars. I panicked and wondered if I had made a mistake in confiding in him when I hadn't confided in my parents or some of my close friends. And then he showed me that he had scars exactly like mine. If it were a movie, you know what would have happened next. But my life is not a movie. And we shared an intimacy that was not at all sexual. We held hands in silence, my head on his shoulder. I was overwhelmed at once by joy, relief, and pain. His pain was my pain. I was not alone. And in that moment, I had nothing to hide. And it really was okay.
I'm 8 years old, and my parents are still married, and we sit down for dinner. My mother takes out a bowl of cereal and places it in front of me. She made me the bowl of cereal. I take a couple bites and I'm eating it, when she says, "Eat your motherfucking cereal." She grabs the back of my head and shoves it into the bowl of cereal. I get Captain Crunch on the side of my face and I begin to cry. She tells me to shut up. I do not know if my father is there. I'm 13 and my mother's picking me up from karate practice. She looks at me. "Hey, sweetie." She hiccups, and she is very drunk. She is in no condition to get us back home. I get in the car, and we don't talk the entire way back. She plays Christina Aguilera's Hurt, and she figured out that if she put it on repeat, it could play again and again and again without stopping ever. She intersperses her driving with dance moves where she rocks back and forth and lets her hair fall over the steering wheel as she leans forward. She interrupts the song at a quiet part, and she lowers the volume because I physically have to cover my ears because the music is so loud. She says, "Your fucking father, how is he?" I say, "He's planning a trip with his girlfriend and working pretty hard. His business is going well and so are his mother and father and brother." Fuck him. I always knew he had a tiny fucking dick, like literally this big. She makes a space between her thumb and pointer finger. I say nothing. Mother misses a red light. She doesn't notice, and I do not say anything. Father tries to explain Mother to us once. He says, if things ever get too bad, my brother and I can go live with him. I love my mother because she gave birth to me. How can I ever repay her for giving me the gift of life and raising me so well for 10 years? I do not want to leave. Mother has a supportive family and a house, but she smokes and drinks and watches TV every second of every day for 5 years. I got into Notre Dame because when I started living with my father when I was 15, for the first time, I was able to focus on school and the things that interest me, instead of shielding my brother from the worst of my mom. He doesn't remember very much. And for that, I count him very lucky. But perhaps I was successful back then, making sure he didn't have to see her when it got too bad. In a sense, I think I messed up though. I don't believe in God no matter how hard I try. I hate alcohol, and I find it so difficult to make relationships with people. They say that everyone blames their parents, but I can't think of any other reason for this sickness I've carried inside me in every encounter I've ever had. People will disregard you if you let them. And recently, it's been hard to find the strength to make my voice heard. I feel very alone. And getting older doesn't make it any easier, it just makes it commonplace. I've never told anyone any of this, except the judge when I had to testify against my mother during the divorce proceedings. These are the kinds of things no one wants to hear. I've learned that abuse comes in many forms. And no matter how close you get with someone, a close friend, a girlfriend, an infinite chasm divides you. I shudder at the thought of what goes unspoken. And I hope that we can live in an environment where people feel comfortable talking about these things.
I'm poor. Really poor. So poor. My family's been on food stamps for 7 years. When those ran out, my parents either begged our wealthy relations or went without, so that us kids could eat. My poverty never defined me, but it always loomed in the background. But never so much as at ND. There have been times my friends have gone to Starbucks that I've had to demur because I couldn't afford it. Because I literally did not have $5 for coffee because I could not scrounge up $5 from any available source. I never go to the games, and rather than admit the real reason why, I can't afford tickets, I just say that I hate football, and I work during them. One day, during my freshman year, someone made a joke about Obama phones. This person was, and is, one of my best friends. He's upper middle class, but fundamentally a deeply good person. As he showed the entire section of video of a woman inarticulately rambling about how the government owed her a phone and Obama was going to get her one, he sniggered over her presumption and dismissed her, saying she needed to get a job so she could buy her own phone. My family owns one of those phones. In one fell swoop, he was talking about my mother, my brothers, my 4 sisters, and me. And the strange thing is, he didn't know he was talking about me. Our shared Notre Dameness had made my poverty non-existent. There was no way he could have gone out there in the real world and shown someone a video like that and made those comments. Ironically, our closeness had made him clueless. I never told him about how what he'd said made me feel because, honestly, how do you have a conversation that raw? And that's what I dislike so much sometimes about Andy. We can be close, we can be intimate even, but being truly raw is still considered taboo at times? So we nervously laugh off our pain at other people's ignorance. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everyone who had to deal with ignorance because I refused to stand up to someone's comment about Obama phones. I'm sorry for letting the ignorance spread. I'm sorry.
When I was 14, I had my first dream where I kissed a girl. I woke up confused. I liked boys. I thought, I can't be gay. So I forced it down inside of me as deep as it would go. When I was 16, my sister came out as lesbian. She said to my mom, no one likes bisexuals, they should just pick a side. So I forced it deeper inside of me, like a hot ball of lead in my stomach. Never mind, I thought girls were cute. It was easier to be straight. In college, one of my best friends came out as bi. All of our friends wondered when he would just admit to himself that he was just gay. I bit my tongue and forced it deeper inside of me. So deep, I couldn't feel it anymore. When I was 20, I fell in love with a boy. But I remembered how people never wanted to date bisexuals because they were more likely to cheat. My body was like a pressure cooker just waiting to explode. At 21, though, he said, I don't care if you're bi or gay or straight, as long as you love me. So I released the pressure at last, letting it out slowly, and finally I could say yes. I'm bisexual and I'm proud. But even though I've come to terms with myself now at 22, I'm angry. I cannot display my full self. The media ignores me, and somehow because I have a boyfriend that makes me less queer, trying to appropriate their gay culture, I am sick of being marginalized, forced to hide who I am so people can put each other in neat little boxes. I refuse to submit myself to your regulations. I refuse to box myself into your conformity. I will not be silent. I am not somehow less queer because I haven't been called a slur in the street. I'm not somehow less oppressed because I can hold my partner's hand. And I refuse to sit on the sidelines for your requirements. I refuse to let you oppress me just as much as heteronormativity. Enough is enough. I am a bisexual, queer woman, proud of herself, just being who I am.
I am the last child, the youngest of 3 girls. My dad, a prisoner of war. My mom, a seamstress. My sisters had to learn English as a second language. It was hard as fuck, but they got through it. They got through high school, they got through college, and then they got through medical school. Por la gracia de Dios y por sus fuerzas y por el apoyo de mis padres, they did it. Por la gracia de Dios, estamos aquí, middle class, small business owners, with 2 girls who became successful doctors. 2 girls who had so much potential, and they achieved it. And then there was me. And you haven't had to struggle through anything. You're in a lucky spot. Mom and Dad take care of everything for you. You're not stupid. You're not handicapped. You haven't had any traumatic experiences. You've had an easy life. And all you have to do, you only have one job, is to do well in school. So Mom and Dad and I don't have to worry about you anymore. You're 20 freaking years old and you're almost 21, and yet we still have to remind you of what's at stake. And the only reason I'm not pulling you out of school right now is so that Mom and Dad don't have to pay the bills for your school if you transfer. So you won't be a financial burden on Mom and Dad. Everyone knows that pre-med is hard. Engineering is even harder. Even business here is hard. The point is, anything I could have chosen would have been difficult. However, the effort I put in is of utmost importance. I shouldn't be sleeping. I shouldn't be having fun. I shouldn't be with him. I shouldn't even be smiling or laughing. I don't deserve it right now. I haven't earned it. My grades, shit. My GPA, shit. My resume, also shit. I put in effort, sure, but I don't put in enough. I wait till the last fucking minute every time, and does that ever pay off? No, it doesn't. But the question is, did I ever change it? I am here for a reason, but I don't deserve it. You took up a chance that someone else would have killed for, and what are you doing with it? Fucking nothing. You're just a waste of space there. Remember to fight every day. Every day es una lucha y tienes que luchar por su posición en la vida y por todos. Nada bien es sin una lucha, Em. My problem is that I'm a dreamer. I'm
my priorities are way off. I'm selfish. I must not love them enough to get my shit together. They spend sleepless nights worrying about me, wondering if I'm ever going to make something of myself. There's something detrimentally wrong with me, something dark and scary, and that's eating at my soul. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to get rid of it. Sometimes I wonder if it would be easier for them if I had never existed. If that car accident didn't just get them a new car, it got rid of their future problem. Me. I wish I had my life figured out. Sometimes I feel like everything's going to be okay, that I'm going to graduate from here, maybe matriculate onto whatever professional school, be a functioning member of society, go make money, volunteer at clinics, take care of mom and dad, take care of Vietnam, set up a college fund for baby. And then I realized I can't even get good grades in school. I can't even figure out what I want to do with my life. I can't even stay focused long enough to pull everything up. I wonder what's wrong with me. Most people only get one chance. One chance and not shit else to make it. I've had 5 and everything I could possibly need. I've had my family's support, more or less, and 5 chances. 5 chances and I still can't do it.
When you jump into a freezing cold body of water, the need to resurface and take a breath is so reflexive and strong, it takes you a moment to realize you're already at the surface, gasping for air. To me, that innate fight, overriding all reason and thought, is the most powerful thing I can imagine. When I jumped without clothing into the half St. Mary's Lake to swim across it, I wasn't suicidal or even courting hypothermia. It was just that after 8 months of battling depression so exhausting, I would constantly avoid my friends, lie to escape the activities I love, and skip classes to hide among my blankets. I wanted something to remind me that even if I didn't feel like I wanted to be alive, I still had the instinct to, an instinctual drive to exist on this earth. My best friend didn't see it my way. 3 days later, she said, "If we're gonna be friends, you have to start to fix yourself. Because right now, caring about you feels like pouring love into a sieve." Terrified of hurting someone else in the same manner, I retreated more and more into myself, frosting over like the surface of the lake. Maybe it was for the best for her, but my other friends seemed alarmed, reaching for me as I repeatedly shrank back. The loneliness resulting from that simple statement, a personal belief she had every right to make, just made everything worse. My need to keep my depression from burning my friends meant that I would allow it to destroy me from the inside out. But healing doesn't come from suppressing everything and refusing to trust. It comes from others. My friends never took a sword up against my demons, and I wouldn't ask them even if they could. Still, for me, it was their presence that reminded me I was struggling for a reason. I cut again a few weeks ago. Thin red lines hugged my legs and swirled around my hips. And I watched as one of my teammates looked at me at practice, her eyes tracing the pass. She caught me after practice, and in between my worried assurances and her alarmed questions, I feel like I finally thawed. Last week, I had to ask my friend to stay with me because I was scared I would hurt myself. And she did. And I think she still loves me, which is amazing and beautiful. I have a friend and a sister who both consider me their emergency contact, and I always want to be there to protect them. I have a friend who tells me I will achieve each of my dreams, and I want to prove him right. I have a whole team from whom I can hide nothing and don't want to have anything to hide from them. I also have depression, but some things are more powerful than others.